What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Burning the Red Shirt. We took last week off, and we couldn't miss our potentially favorite week of the year. We'll see after how December goes. I feel like December could be with like the playoffs and stuff. There could be a week there that could just overtake this week, but this is a pretty monumental week, one that Burning the Red Shirt's never missed and will never miss. Andrew, what is your favorite? What is your favorite part about Thanksgiving week? Don't tell me family or food.
The last 3 years, we've rented a beach house, and we've done Thanksgiving near Margaret's family. So like South Jersey, Kay-ish area, and it's been really on point. So we'll do it we'll get it from like Wednesday to Sunday, which I mean it's not cheap, but like it gives like I get the full slate of college football games, excluding the Tuesday action. At the beach house location, which is nice. It some ways like miss being on the home turf in terms of like just being kind of set up for success for the grind that is kind of the Friday and Saturday, because we really get like 2 full days of college football this week. The Black Friday, I believe I've included in my top 10 slates released on Brandon Chicken last year. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that that's part of it. I can't say that like the Thanksgiving night game hits the same as it used to. Like that was
probably there's 2 reasons why it doesn't hit the same as it used to. The Egg Bowl,
right? And also like I'm not going out on Thanksgiving night like I used to. I feel like I usually would go out with my buddies and meet up with them and just get obliterated on Thanksgiving night. But like I don't know, now it's a little more tame.
Yeah, well, I think the other reason from a football standpoint, pure football standpoint, is Texas A&M. That those Egg Bowl and Texas A&M were games that were incredible on Thursday nights.
So I had this discussion with a group chat yesterday where I brought that game up as being like a former staple of Thanksgiving, and there was some pushback there. But I have fond memories of like Colt McCoy playing against Texas A&M on Thanksgiving night.
It's the possibility. I mean, the Egg Bowl is cool because there's like crazy stuff that happens, not because it's just the best pure football with absolutely great tight games, right? Like it's an insane rivalry where the others hate each other 100,000%. And it always creates some weird situation that happens, like Elijah Moore acting like he's peeing on the field.
Matt Corral trying to fight the entire Mississippi State team.
Exactly. So it's not just truly like a full, on the field perspective of why that A&M Texas game was great, but it's hilarious that it's back. And not only is it back, I think we could, before Auburn beat A&M, couldn't we have gotten back-to-back Texas A&M games in the SEC championship game technically?
Yeah, I didn't stay up for all 4 overtimes. So really, I didn't catch much of that game. But I was very happy with the outcome as someone that holds like a lot of parlays tickets that involve Georgia winning the SEC, which was because of like the weird tiebreakers that have to do with like common opponents win percentages and shit. There were ways the chips could have fallen that Georgia didn't make the SEC title game if Texas A&M wins that game. But now Uga's like absolutely in, I believe.
Yeah, they're locked in. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very pleased.
Well, there's two things I want to talk about with that. So I did stay up and watch Auburn A&M, not because like I watch every Auburn game. Honestly, if I have a prop that I need to win, I would 100% watch that over watching Auburn. Like no shade. That's just how it goes. So I did watch the game and just the final, basically from like 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And my wife went to sleep and I was like, yeah, I'll be there in like 10 minutes. And then like an hour later, she was like, where were you?
Did you keep the drinks flowing during the
No, I typically stop because I start early.
Yeah.
I stop early. Early, air quotes. So I usually am done. We're 2 different types of drinkers. I start early and I'm done by 7. You haven't even started till 8.
No, if I wasn't sick this week, like I was very much planning on going through my standard Saturday routine of murdering a bunch of drinks on Saturday night, but my body was not. I What I should have done is gotten the Z pack on like Thursday, Friday, so I'd be feeling good for Saturday. But I thought that I might just be able to kick these germs to the curb by
Naturally,
yeah. But then by Saturday morning, I was like, all right, I need to go to go to urgent care or whatever and just get like a Z pack for this. But I fucked up. I forgot that day one of Z packing, you're supposed to take 2 pills, and I only took 1. I bet if I had taken 2, I could have rocked a bite, felt good enough to rock drinks on Saturday night. But in reality, it would have turned more depressing, and I probably would have stopped early because I was really bummed just about how my underdog teams did. On
Dude, I do not even want to talk about how this past week went. It was like literally the worst college fantasy prop weekend I've ever had, all into one. Like everything that could happen negatively, and they weren't even like the underdog teams, my Fantrax team. They're not all the same players.
Yeah.
So like it just literally all went down the shitter.
Uh,
So let's not talk about it if you don't mind. I almost said no. Let's not. What?
What are we going to talk about if we're not?
I have plenty of things to talk about. We can think of any. I almost told you no. I don't want a podcast because I'm still so bummed about how Saturday.
I would have understood. That's how I was last week.
It was not great, but so back to it. What are your thoughts on like the fact that teams don't want to play in the SEC championship game? Well, 2 parts. Do you think it's legitimate that teams don't want to play in, or is it just like some cool, funny storyline? And then also, like, is that a bad thing?
There's probably some legitimacy to it. It probably isn't a great thing. I don't really like. I guess because my team is safely in, maybe it's easy for me to say that like I don't really care about the SEC getting like I think it'd be funny if they only got 1 or 2 teams in, and maybe we get there. That would be kind of cool. Only UGA gets in and everyone else gets out.
Well, Texas is like locked in at this point, so it wouldn't be.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
they have no good wins, and what if they lose?
Well, they'd have to lose to A&M and then have to lose the SEC championship. Are they in the SEC championship game if they lose to A&M?
I think they're out.
So then they would be in my opinion.
With 0 good wins, like Penn State. Penn State and Texas should both be out, in my opinion.
Well, if it's not them, then who? Like, I agree with you, right? It's like, even like Indiana, it's like, man, like you really didn't help your case here. Like, you played like shit, you looked awful, and it was clear that Ohio State was better than you. And quite honestly, I don't think Ohio State is like world beating. If you lose to them by 30, you're still okay because like they beat everybody by 30. They're like not that good to me. It's not like Georgia 2 or 3 years ago where they just stomped everybody and it was like, I mean, we all got stomped by Georgia. Who cares? So, but like if it's not them, then like who would actually make it's the thing, right?
Yeah, I keep coming really close to getting involved on some of these yes/no playoff odds that are out there, but I have to like take a step back and realize I don't really know what I'm talking about. And in this regard, so I haven't placed any bets on it, but I was close to betting SMU no and UNLV no or a couple others, but I don't know. At this point, I'm just bored waiting for like to start betting props for this week. But those markets are so fun to think about. Like, because it's not just what's done on the field; it's the way that these idiots who get to make their financial decisions about who gets into the games. Like, how are they going to think?
Yeah, it's almost like you're betting. It's almost like you're betting money line of other games, like multiple games, just because, like, based on how you say yes or no.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is not good. I think like Oregon and Ohio State 100% deserve it, but then Indiana and Penn State don't like deserve it. But we're gonna get 4 Big Ten teams.
Yeah, Indiana went from like minus 450 before Saturday. They're now minus 2,000 to get in.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of like the Texas effect, where there's not enough games for you to lose. Yeah, I mean, if Indiana loses to Purdue, they would be out.
Yeah.
But what they got to be like 4 touchdown favorites in that one? 20-point favorites, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is really great to see all this happen after like the SEC was all talking trash on Indiana and then like didn't even handle their own baggage. As
For
an
sure.
outsider,
Yeah.
as an
It was fun.
outsider, it is great. It is fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Are you more excited for Friday or Saturday's games?
I'm probably more excited for Saturday. We get three huge games, all at different time slots. I just realized this. I am invested in three games specifically on Saturday. Michigan, Ohio State, even though that's going to turn ugly. The
You
Iron
think?
Bowl, yeah, it's almost always ugly. In this situation, I just can't see Michigan. We can talk about it here in a second.
Yeah.
The Iron Bowl is at 3:30,
Okay.
and then Virginia Tech. Whoever wins gets a bowl bid. I mean, at 8:00. I think it's at 8:00 on Saturday. So, I mean, I'm pretty much living the dream.
That's not bad. Virginia Tech should be on Friday though.
It used to be on Friday.
Yeah.
It used to be Friday night, and then it got moved to Saturday at noon. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm never watching this game. And then, now it's Saturday night. And quite possibly, you know what the best part about not the best part, even though bowl winner or winner gets a bowl game, is on the line. The best part is Pop Watson.
Did he look good?
He looks fine. I mean, he has never played, and then he just all of a sudden, I think he was like 13 to 25 or something like that with a couple picks. But like coming in at half, essentially, like mid game, I thought he held himself pretty.
What is Drones' injury?
I think it's like that lingering lower body issue that he had maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about Schlee. I mean, Schlee could be anything because he's a wrecking ball that just sacrifices his body. Somebody said that Colin Schlee should have been starting the whole time after watching Colin Schlee play. That's not right, right?
I don't think so. I mean, is part of that argument that Virginia Tech should also have run their garbage offensive system and not like molded things to their team strengths. Do we have to make that assumption in this argument as well?
I think so.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't watched much of the actual VT games, so.
Well, you're not missing much.
Yeah.
So Michigan is a 20.5-point underdog to Ohio State at Ohio State. I don't know. That feels like a lot of points, but I've seen Michigan play. And it also doesn't help that like Michigan played Indiana kind of close. I want to say at Michigan. And Indiana just got dog walked. But they also kind of got dog walked because of special teams.
Which 20.5-point spread game is more likely to be closer? Michigan, Ohio State, or Oregon State, Boise?
Oregon State, Boise, I think will be closer.
Yeah,
because I think Oregon State could play so slow that they could lose 24-7, and it wouldn't be all that surprising. And Boise State
awful, though.
What?
Boise's been pretty awful recently,
and they have been pretty awful, right? So like,
yeah,
it feels like it's quite. I mean, if they just want to run him 30 times now, and if Oregon State prepares for that, they could just naturally kill the clock because it takes 3 GT runs to get a first down, and they do it 100 times.
Boise loses on Saturday if Wyoming doesn't have to play their converted tight end at quarterback for like 2.5 quarters.
Svoboda.
Yeah.
The old Eli Stowers.
What was that?
The old Eli Stowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Quarterback to tight end. So I go into Saturday thinking house money if Michigan plays well against Ohio State. We're already in the bowl game. We won our big bowl game, beating Northwestern last week. So we qualified. So I'm living
for the quick lane.
For the quick lane. The quick lane bowl. What are your vibes going into a nearly 20.5-point favorite matchup against Georgia Tech?
They're a good team. They have good coaching. Like, so much credit to them for putting Haynes King out there on this week, right? Making him take some snaps. Cashing probably my biggest prop bet of the year for me. So credit to that staff for doing that. But they're considering what they have going on just in terms of their the talented players, their roster not being in the greatest shape health wise, and just going out and beating Miami, beating NC State. By the way, have you watched Philo play?
Not really, no.
Like, I'm so intrigued on what they're going to do this offseason from a roster management perspective, because the cat's out of the bag. Like, that dude can sling it. How are you going to keep him and King on the roster for 2025? That's going to take like Heath's going to have to donate some serious money to the NIL fund to keep both those QBs come running it back. But I don't think it like I watched too much of the UGA UMass game at some like Elijah went down for a nap on Saturday, and I was flipping around a little bit in the middle, like between 1 and 2 o'clock, and I forget what games I was initially watching.
Probably Florida Ole Miss.
That and Wake Miami, because at that point I thought that most of my underdog team still had some life. So I wanted to see what Claiborne was doing because I had a lot of him. And then at some point I was just like, this is going to hell. So I put on UGA, and I promise you, I had the game on for like 20 minutes, dude. UGA didn't, and all I watched for those 20 minutes was UMass going down the field. Like UGA, like one drive lasted a full 20 minutes of real time, and the drive wasn't even over, and I just turned it back off. Like I don't know how, like, what an insane team. Like, I don't understand how UGA goes so hot and cold in terms of how that they play week to week. It's so weird. So what if we just don't get like the Tennessee or Texas type team to show up against Georgia Tech? Like, I could totally see that game being close and like not going our way.
I think Georgia Tech poses as a threat because I think they're going to do some weird, interesting scheme stuff with their two quarterback. Like, I think Haynes King's, I mean, was he just sparingly playing, or did they bench him because of it's a shoulder injury, right? He can't throw, but he can run, right? Are they going to run him on Friday?
Maybe they run him more. I think they just skewed the game plan more pass heavy against NC State, whereas it skewed like more run heavy against Miami, and they were doing more option-y type stuff.
So would be my thought is I would be worried about Georgia Tech because they have a gunslinger and then they have a guy King that like will sacrifice his body.
Both are mobile too.
And and they're a smart offense. Like, they got a smart coaching staff to like use both of them. Didn't Rutherford get hurt, or was it Singleton?
I think it was Rutherford, but I thought he came back.
Okay, I didn't fully pay attention to that game. I had Haynes King under, and the parlay it was with died a painful death. But I'd be worried if I was Georgia. That spread doesn't make any sense to me. 19.5.
Yeah, it seems a bit much.
I mean, they got a full week too. They played last Thursday, so now they play on Friday. I mean, theoretically, Georgia has Thanksgiving, and then just like Tech does, but at least Tech has an extra day, 2 days.
Yeah, we need as much time as we can to distance ourselves from UMass
and prepare for the offense that is potentially schematic, interesting offense there for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, maybe we pay $2 million to get Buster Faulkner back on our sidelines
before then.
Yeah.
Did you see the tickets as low as on ESPN for this game?
No. Is it expensive?
Possibly $4,300.
That I'm sure that's wrong.
Yeah, they're scraping it wrong because I see $241 as the cheapest.
Friday night. That's a fun Friday night game.
I was honestly going to say that's 100% the game I'm looking forward to the most on Friday.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the, if I'm obviously not the ones that I care about personally with all my rivalries, but I think otherwise that might be like the game of the weekend for me. Does Georgia get in the playoff if they lose to Georgia Tech and then beat Texas?
Well, they'd be automatically.
Oh, you're right. Dang. Because I was going to say that would be an interesting.
The better question is,
win
beat
and
Georgia
lose?
Tech, lose to Texas.
Okay, so do that then. Do they get in if they win against Georgia Tech and lose?
Well, then I'd become a frothing SEC homer. I think they would get in. I think that it's also pretty easy to make an argument that they shouldn't get in.
I mean, they'd be 10-3, and Texas would be in automatically. You'd have the 4 Big Ten teams in, so that's 5. You get the ACC team, and it's 6. But you also ACC is going to backdoor themselves into multiple bids that they probably shouldn't get, don't you think? With Miami at 10-1, they're going to be 11-1.
That's the argument that you make. I think if you don't have any access or an understanding to the history of how the committee will just contrive shit, right?
Well, yes, that is correct. I think my heart and mind is pure, so I don't think like SEC fans or the committee. That's a pure problem on my end.
With UGA beating Georgia Tech, lose to Texas, if we're trying to find a path for them getting kept out, who is the second SEC team who gets in?
What would be Texas?
No, Texas would get in, right?
Right, Texas would get in, and then you'd have Tennessee get in
over UGA.
Well, they'd be 10-2 to Georgia's 10-3, right? So I think you could argue
you can counter that fairly
at
easily.
Georgia, right? So that's where it gets tricky. Is it's like, well, you beat them, but it was at Georgia. Like, then you think of like if we're comparing 2 SEC teams, it's like, okay, well, we beat you head to head. Well, you have the extra loss, and
in the championship
game. Yeah, in the championship game, and you beat me while I was on the road.
Yeah.
Does that game change if it was at Tennessee? I don't think so, but like, I knew you could debate that.
Yeah, I think UGA would. I think they'd probably both get in. But I think UGA would be ranked higher than.
I don't think it would be a Georgia versus Tennessee thing. It would be a Georgia and Tennessee and another team, and they say pick 2. Like, I think, right, you'd have like I said, the 4 Big Ten, you'd have the Texas, right? Then you'd have ACC. Who's going to play in the ACC championship game? SMU. If everybody wins out, is it SMU and Miami or SMU and Clemson?
Yeah, SMU Miami.
So then that becomes a little tricky because then you get another common opponent of Georgia that they lost to, or that they beat, right? So that puts you at 6 and 7 if you put in, let's say SMU and Miami both get in. That's feasible. I've been impressed by the Big 12 with Arizona State, but I have not been impressed by any of the others.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But think about how ridiculous it is that like we dismiss all these Big 12 teams and like 3 of them have 2 losses.
Yeah.
Like why do we need to dismiss them? Like, well, we just dismissed the idea of a Big 12 as a 2-team league, but comparatively from a win-loss perspective versus the other Power 4 conferences, like these teams are all right there. Why? Like, what's the problem?
Well, I think the problem is BYU came into the season as the worst rated or like the worst ranked Big 12 team, and Iowa State lost to Texas Tech and Kansas. That's like I feel like everybody thought Iowa State would win, and then they lost to 2 teams that I think are very mid. And then like Colorado is cool, but I think everybody's kind of like, well, I don't really buy into that. Like they shouldn't have been this close.
A lot of teams have losses to mid teams, though. A lot of teams have 3 losses to mid teams.
Yeah. I don't know. The perception of the Big 12 has never been all that great. It's kind of like the ACC.
It's a perception thing, I think.
Yeah. Just like the ACC, right? Like if SMU wins the ACC championship, they play whatever, right? They play Georgia that gets in as like a 6 or 7 seed or something. No, like an 8 seed or 9 seed, whatever it would be to like match up with SMU. Like I would almost guarantee that if SMU is the champion of the ACC, they're a top 4 seed, they would be an underdog in their game.
Yeah.
They're going to be an underdog of pretty much like, I mean, would Penn State be a favorite over them?
Yeah. They're going to be an underdog.
Yeah. Same with like Arizona State. They would be an underdog to anybody they face, right? Unless they somehow got to like Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Boise State's like the automatic team that's going to end up getting that?
Yeah, if they win out.
Yeah, well, if they win out. But I'm just saying, do you think they win out slot and then ultimately get it?
Oh. It feels like a coin flip. With like 50% chance they win out, 50% chance they don't. which probably isn't priced that way. But the Friday slate, I think it's really stacked. Like, I love so many of these games. My primary quip is there's no late night game. Our late start time is 8 p.m. and that's Utah UCF. Like, that's not really acceptable.
Of course. Yeah, that's what I knew that would be how you feel.
Yeah, but we get the MAC championship teams decided at noon between Miami, Bowling Green, and Ball State, Ohio. So that's nice. Oklahoma State, Colorado. By the way, how would you pronounce the new Oklahoma State quarterback's name?
Not even trying.
Have you watched him?
Mr. Smith.
That's fair. Have you watched Mr. Smith?
No, I have not.
He looks awesome. He's gonna that dude is gonna be a star for however many years.
Is that, I wrote his name down this morning because I had to add him to the sheet for our projection stuff. And I was like, wow, what a crazy first name for the most generic last name.
California kid.
So
explain it that way, I guess.
So shifting gears a little bit, we talked about no Egg Bowl on Thursday, but I will say in terms of replacements, this kind of gives me like Hawaii Bowl vibes, but like Memphis Tulane, like the solo game at night on a holiday. That kind of gives me Hawaii Bowl vibes. And I think Memphis Tulane's a pretty fun one because there is an implication of like, I don't think there's a way to get there, but Tulane in theory is like kind of close to like Boise State in terms of like who should be a G5. G5 representative.
If Boise doesn't win the Mountain West and win this week against Oregon State, then it's Tulane against UNLV. And I think there's compelling arguments for both. I think that I don't know which way it would go ultimately. Like, it's not a lock, it's UNLV, I don't think. My primary concern with that game on Thanksgiving night is it feels like I haven't watched much Tulane, but just like looking at the play-by-play. Is this game going to be boring as shit because they're just going to hand it to Hughes 35 times and kill the clock and stop Memphis from doing anything cool?
I can't tell. They run a ton with Hughes, but he doesn't get like that much of the usage of carries like compared to others. And I even looked at like similar type games against like bigger opponents that stayed close. He doesn't get like Boise State GT usage. He still gets around 60% max. I think they're really one of those like deep ball one play type stuff where it's like run, 50-yard pass, run, 40-yard pass type. I haven't watched a ton of Tulane though, so I can't say definitively. But I feel like that's a good game. My question to you would be, we get action on Tuesday, aka probably when this is released this day. What's up with Wednesday? Like, how did Wednesday become the like, well, let's not play any games on Wednesday. You know, these MAC games have to, like, they're all these on Tuesday or Saturday this week. Like, how did that happen?
This just shows how disconnected you are from being a human being, which I applaud. Because not even I am at that level of expecting these collegiate athletes to play on Thanksgiving Eve. Like, all the professional sports, don't they take off that day as well? Like, doesn't the NBA doesn't play on Thanksgiving Eve, do they?
NBA is like the biggest day, one of the biggest days of the year. Somebody said that Wednesday was a huge NBA day.
Really?
Yeah. Wednesday, every single team plays.
Oh, you're right. Maybe I'm disconnected.
I think you're the disconnected one because how could you possibly be okay with teams playing on Thanksgiving Day, but think that Wednesday is this like, hey, off limits? There's basketball games on Wednesday. College basketball's on Wednesday. So what is the difference?
Fair. Yeah, it's a fair point. And in hindsight, maybe I came in a little hard on you there. But I feel like maybe in the past we've had action on Tuesday and Wednesday of Thanksgiving, but I am thankful, if no pun intended, that we get at least the Tuesday games, even though they're repugnant. I think, not to brag too much, that I'm going to try and get Toledo defense on a couple of my teams that are vying for championships, like going up against Akron. Like, Toledo hasn't been great this year, but that feels to me like a situation where Akron's going to throw it enough that we could get a really high score from a defense perspective. They could throw enough, but not throw efficiently and make some mistakes type deal.
Pick six.
So I'm hoping to land them in a couple of weeks.
I think I was looking at it this morning. It's like 28-20 is the implied score.
It's so close. It's fucking Akron.
I was surprised. I was like, how is Toledo only like an 8-point favorite? Yeah, 8-point favorite. It doesn't make any sense to me. Tulane is a 2-touchdown favorite over Memphis.
Yeah, I'm in a OG where I made the finals. I'm playing Mario Anderson somewhat begrudgingly. I feel like worst case he still gets me like 10 points, even if it's like not great.
He's gonna be great. I don't know why
you think?
Be. Yeah, I think he's fine.
Toledo Tulane just suffocates.
I mean, who are you playing him over?
Right. I mean, that's kind of it's like him versus Harrison Whaley, who hasn't done anything in a couple of weeks, and a couple of receivers who haven't been very good. So there's not much. That team isn't exactly great from a depth perspective.
I'm going to shift completely here.
Okay.
I traded a future first-round pick, which is like probably going to be around. This is the OG league, which made me think of it. So like maybe it's a 20 or 22 teamer?
22.
22. I think this is going to be around pick like 15 or 16 for Byron Brown and his 2 years of eligibility.
He's 2?
Yeah. Maybe 3, because 2022 to 2023 he played 4 games.
Oh, is he redshirting this year?
He played 6.
Oh.
So I'll have 2 years left after this year. Do you like that deal? It kind of feels like he's out the door, like he's gone from South Florida.
Right, and he didn't look great when he was playing this year. I don't know. I wouldn't feel amazing about it if I was you, but it could. I think you just gotta hope he doesn't make a bad decision. It could be wheels up.
Give me a bad decision for Byron Brown.
Wisconsin.
That would be an awful decision. My quarterbacks this league is 22 teams. You kind of have to have a star quarterback to be good, I feel like. And so that's why I kind of took the chance there. I do have an interesting QB room because I do have Matthew Sluka and Damon Williams who feel like they'd be super cool next year. But
oh man, I wonder where Sluka ends up.
That is a good question. Speaking of where does he end up, Bert Emanuel? Where does he end up? Eastern Michigan? You think he stays MAC? There's 2 options, I think. I don't know where he's from. Where is he from originally? Because I think that will determine his next move.
Can he go FCS?
So I think he's from Houston. Oh, I'm screwed. He's from Houston, Texas. You know what that means?
Sam Houston State?
No, even worse. HBC. He's going to like Texas Southern or something like that. There's no way he goes. He's going to want to go back home probably.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm fucking tired of the cold.
Well, he might end up not playing QB too.
That could be cool.
I guess.
You know why? Because he'd have QB eligibility as a running back.
Right.
And Zach, if you listen to this, do not even think about changing his eligibility next year. So this season here, I traded away. This is maybe a larger topic too that I can like trick everyone to thinking that's why I brought it up. This year I traded a Marion Hampton away as a tanking team. I needed picks, right? Added some stuff. I mean, my team sucks. So like it was midseason. I wasn't making playoff, but I kept Jordan James. I think I kept the right running back. Like I feel like Jordan James has come back and Marion Hampton's gone.
I think they're both gone.
Which one are you more confident in being gone?
Oh, Marion's gone.
He's like a top 3 running back, I think, in the class.
Yeah.
Do you think Jordan James isn't going to get paid by Oregon? Has Jordan James been like that good from a running back perspective? Like where would he rank?
Like stats, or you're talking about NFL?
Both.
Stats probably better than you would think. I was looking at this the other day. I was trying to see how poorly my conference leader prop bets are all going. They're all going terribly.
Awful.
But I had James to lead the Big Ten in rushing, and he's surprisingly in second, but with zero chance because of Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a ton of yards. He's got like 1,100 yards. So I had like some committee fear coming into the year with him, but like, dude, and this is while like they've load managed the shit out of him in the back half of the season, but
his numbers are better than I thought, because I just more thinking about like the load management stuff. His numbers are worse than Bucky Irving though.
Yeah.
Or as good. And Bucky Irving was a late 4th round pick. Do you think that plays into part?
They're like built totally different.
I just was asking a question, Andrew.
I think I don't think that you can do much in terms of comparing them. Like they're very different, just very different players from an NFL perspective.
Yeah, my thought is more, they're not that different, by the way. They're like
not
really? As 5'10", 210, 5'10", 198, 195. So like obviously different, but like Bucky Irving's like not super fast. Like Baker Mayfield outran him yesterday. So like I think if you're smaller than Jordan James, you would think that he's faster than Jordan James, and I probably don't think that's the case. Like I just think that like Jordan James could go to the combine and just not do anything impressive, and then he's the 5th round pick. It wouldn't stop me. So like if you're Oregon and you're Jordan James, you say, look, like let's link up for like $400K and make this happen.
Does Oregon's NIL strategy change if they win it all this year? Like, do they stop up front loading stuff so much to just try and win a natty immediately?
I think that they probably think, well, let's strike while the iron's hot. Let's keep this
going.
I mean, it's Nike money. It's never ending. Like,
it's not real.
It's kind of it's like if you own Little Caesars, like that ain't going anywhere. Like, you have 5 billion franchises selling $5 pizzas. Like you're still here. You're gonna be fine. So okay. Well, thanks for not helping me feel better about that trade.
So I have my. It starts off as a Google Keep document, my 2025 CFF.
I was gonna ask you about this.
Yeah, and then that's just right now because I think that is important from a going forward perspective as the year winds down to try and take notes on things you feel at the conclusion of the year to avoid too much inevitable influence from other people as we turn the page.
Group chat.
So I want to take down my notes on how I feel about these players as the season concludes, and have that be the number one impactor. Might be a word, for my 2025 takes. So right now it starts as a Google Keep doc where I'll just open that up on my phone, and every time I have a strong opinion about a player for next year, I'll just write his name down, maybe a note or two, and then once probably end of December, I'll copy my my Google sheet for 2024 fantasy, turn that into 2025, and start actually like using the different tabs for different things for CFF purposes. But right now, we should talk about some of these names. What's the best way of doing this? Right now, it's largely quarterbacks, but it's not exclusively quarterbacks.
Okay.
One team has 1, 2, 3, 4 names from it at that team that I would love to stack. No other team has more than 2. If I gave you 100 guesses, I'm not sure you would get the 4-name team.
I probably could, because I wouldn't say anybody in the MAC.
No, it's not MAC.
And then I would like eliminate like Georgia. I could eliminate some like Iowa. No one's playing 4 players from Iowa. So I think I could get there on 100 guesses, but I probably don't get there on 80 guesses.
Okay.
So who we got?
Wyoming.
I might have actually eliminated Wyoming.
Kay and Anderson. Someone said that the tight end Gillenberg is out of eligibility, but I don't know how. I feel like maybe there's some JUCO or something that I didn't look too deeply. But then you got Whaley, who we know redshirted with intention this year. And then Krister, the freshman receiver, has looked good in his opportunities. Like the chances they actually bring in an OC that truly unleashes the talent they have there is probably very slim. But I think that it's great to see how bad the defense has been this year. The Mountain West in general, it's interesting seeing the shift from the Mountain West relative to what we thought it was going to look like at the outset, at least me. Like, I thought that this conference was going to be very defensive driven, as it has been in recent years. Like, that the fantasy output would be marginal, but like every week it feels like there's 2 or 3 shootouts because these defenses are so horrible. It helps to have New Mexico and Utah State in the league for sure. But Wyoming, it just turning into like an overfest for a lot of games has been very nice to see as well. That from a fantasy perspective, like Mountain West wheels up, I think, going into 2025.
Yeah, so Gillenberg or whatever does seem to have another year, like almost
nice.
positive. Yeah, because he redshirted 1 year and then he played 2 years, and then this is his 3rd year, so he would be a redshirt senior. I mean, I guess that's fine. I mean, you're probably getting him for super cheap. You love Kay and Anderson, and then I looked up Kay and Anderson's stats, and I'm like, I'm not sure why people are enamored with him like you are, but
he's a true freshman from South Lake, Texas, who looks like
that's never been you before.
Who looks like Levi Williams.
Exactly. That's never hurt you before.
Yeah.
What about this? Where do you have New Mexico on this list?
No one listed.
Is it because you think Dampier's gone?
Yeah, he's probably gone. But also the biggest driver there is I created this document this week and they didn't play this week. So nothing really jumped to mind.
I think you got to include New Mexico as like a fun if Dampier stays. Even if he doesn't stay, I think there's a reason to like 2 guys from that team because Eli Sanders has another year.
Yeah.
And then if you look at their receivers, like Wysong is getting insane usage.
I saw someone say like he's probably gone too.
To where? I don't know. What's the driving factor? But I don't know. It just, to me, well, even if he is gone, like that just means somebody else is going to step up in an offense that's proven to show like 27 to 30% of targets, which is solid.
Which of these 3 QBs, you have to pick one right now for dynasty purposes, who are you taking? Colton Joseph, Timothy Carpenter from Tulsa in case, and then Brett Jackson of Texas State.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Not Carpenter, like not even a close.
What about when Brennan Marion becomes head coach?
Not even close.
Why?
Colton Joseph or Brett Jackson? I would say Colton Joseph because I mean, if there's a place that's going to take a transfer at quarterback, it's probably Texas State.
Yeah.
Like they're not nobody's replacing Colton Joseph at Old Dominion. Like the risk there is that he leaves, not that someone takes over for him.
Yeah, I could see it. They treated him like shit for like a year and a half.
Yeah, that's how they do it in smaller conferences, like smaller schools, like freaking Velt Camp.
Yeah.
Hey, go play tight end somewhere, you bum. And then it's awesome. So, interesting grouping of guys here. Tell me a place John Mateer transfers that that's realistic that you would automatically be like, nope, not touching him.
Not touching him relative to value. I mean, you don't want to see him in the SEC, right? Which is like everyone's like the hot rumor is him and Arbuckle up and leave to Oklahoma. So that gives me pause. If like we see him going round 1, round 2 and playing in the SEC, like I don't know if I want to pull the trigger there.
Okay, I agree with that.
Outside of that, Big Ten landing spots, right? It largely this is like cop-outy, right? Like, but like you don't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, you just named like 32 schools, so
yeah,
way to cop out.
Let's get into the Big 12. Why can't we get into the Big 12?
The Big 12 would be amazing. That feels like the perfect natural fit, because it's up, and it's typically.
Listen, while Arbuckle is out interviewing in Oklahoma, why doesn't he just hop over now, drive an hour to Stillwater and interview there?
What do you think about? You talk about freshman quarterback Kay and Anderson. What do you think about 2025 freshman quarterback Underwood at Michigan?
Is that girl a real person?
I think so, but I don't know the validity of it. It almost sounds like the story is too cool. Like it's a cool story, not a true story. So the rumor or the joke / thought is that Michigan was able to up the ante to sign the number 1 recruit. Is it what's his first name? Brad? I keep saying Brad because that's Bryce. Brad Underwood's the basketball coach for Illinois, I think.
Yeah.
So Bryce Underwood, they gave him such a high amount of money that they could sign him away from LSU, which makes sense. You're not coming to Michigan for scheme or style. So the idea is that they got the money from a billionaire man who was dating or is married to a Michigan fan. And like joke is that she said, give me a quarterback, not a ring or jewelry or diamonds. Give me a quarterback, not diamonds. I need it to be true, but there's no way it's true. Like no way to that depth is it true. You know, because I know plenty of women that are like insane, like a girl down the street, insane Georgia fan, like loves Georgia to heart, knows all about it, has 2 season tickets. They went to the Tennessee game a couple of weeks ago. If her husband was like $225 billion, she'd be like, Will, like throw down 10 million, like you're an idiot. Like skip Christmas gifts for me and just give me a quarterback. She would say that, and I wouldn't blame her for that.
Pretty awesome.
Do you think what is over under 1.5 years at Michigan?
Is Arbuckle there too?
Arbuckle's not going to be at Michigan, no. You know who Nate likes as the offensive coordinator for them next year is Dan Mullins.
That would be fun.
That could be fun. I feel like that's really the best case for Michigan. This quarterback, Kirk Campbell has got to be gone.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator. So I don't know. The thing is, right, if you're an assistant or someone that is looking for an offensive coordinator job at a bigger school, is there a better place to sign than an offense that has zero expectations and the number one recruit that's also like I'm doing air quotes again, people, the next Cam Newton? Like even Matt Bruning from Camas to Canton, who is an Ohio State fan that hates Michigan, like thinks that Underwood is like one of the greatest recruits he's ever watched.
Better than Tavian?
I don't know for a fact, but I would say yes. I mean, he's literally saying like he's the closest thing to Cam Newton ever. So over under 1.5 years at Michigan.
Over
Under 2.5 years.
Over.
You think he's not just trying to get the bag and then go get another bag?
Why can't you guys just keep paying?
That's true.
Assuming it actually works out decently.
Would you take Underwood as the 101 in supplemental drafts over this Juju Lewis that's going to Colorado?
Dude, that I get such bad vibes from that kid. Like I feel like 50% of the push notifications that I get that are recruiting related are this kid visiting another school for the last like 6 months. If you the best over under years bet is for a quarterback for an under is under like 1.5 years him at Colorado.
Is it because of Dion though, or is it because of him?
Both. Like there's some like I'm sure we wouldn't get a good price on it if Vegas was setting a line. It'd be heavy juiced under.
I don't think anywhere would ever give you a good line on that type of stuff. High recruit,
yeah,
that like is going to be deserving of any sort of money. Like I think it's always possible. We could get to a point where over 50% of players transfer every year. You know, like at some point in their career they transfer, which I don't have a problem with.
Yeah,
I've actually seen Juju Lewis play. And I remember a year or two ago in the Campus to Camp Slacks telling people that like this kid at Carrollton High School is incredible. He was a true sophomore. And I was like, guys, like this guy is insane.
You are like big wide receiver guy and the other guys who watch high school ball. You're like you're embracing Campus to Canton culture. The
only reason why I've seen him play is because they played my high school. and my brother's a coach, so I went to watch the Walton High School.
What was he facing? Heklinski? I can't pronounce it. Heklinski?
Heklinski? Yeah, he did.
Who looked better?
So they played Heklinski. I think Juju Lewis looked better.
Yeah.
But he also lost, I think, twice to Walton. So there's that. Juju Lewis, I was on him first, just saying.
Do you think there will be I have a mental note to try and buy Heklinski in Dynasty this offseason. Do you think the window's open? Or
I mean, sure. I mean, he hasn't done anything, right? Like
nothing, literally.
Yeah. I think he's like, so I would imagine that this is a good opportunity to get him.
Yeah.
Not if we're in the same league, though. So if he's on the market, I'm coming for him.
Do you own him anywhere?
I don't think I do, actually. It's so hard with some of these guys in these supplementals. You just like, there's other players that you wish you want. And you're like, oh, I can wait a little bit longer. I can wait a little bit longer. And then it just never happened. I don't think I got him anywhere, though. I'll look real quick. No, I don't have him anywhere. Random people have him too. It's like, what? How did this happen? So yeah, we'll see. What about there was a player I was going to ask you if you. Completely random. Are there any concerns about Quentin Martin just doing absolutely nothing at Penn State this year? The running back.
How is he going to get carries though with 2 top 3 round running backs and then Franklin jerking his chain to the overrated tight end and giving carries to him too? Like, there's not enough room to give it to the 5-star freshman that you need to keep in the program for short, medium, long-term considerations. That takes a back seat.
I think so. You're saying that he hasn't played because there's just been so many guys above him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has he done absolutely nothing?
He's got 8 carries for 25 yards.
He was effectively RB2 that one game, the UCLA game, right? That Singleton missed. But
yeah, the problem with your statement is that he had 1 carry, 1 yard that game.
Oh, my bad.
Is that Corey Smith and Cam Wallace have more carries and yards than him, and I've never heard of them before. And they routinely rotated in over Quentin Martin.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Any final thoughts or topics that we did not touch today, Andrew?
Excited, but also nervous about the last game of the weekend. I need Hawaii to beat New Mexico to cash my win total over for Hawaii. They're slight dogs right now. It might be the Micah Alahado show, with Shager being hurt in some capacity. But so it's exciting in the sense that like maybe we actually see them give Alahado a real run. Our boy Clint has gotten eyes on a lot of Hawaii this year. I haven't watched as much as I would like to, and he says it's like very frustrating that the myriad times that Shager's gone banged up, they'll like bring in Alahado, he'll look fine and good, and then they'll just like sub in other quarterbacks over him and like not let him get comfortable. But it would be nice to actually see, okay, let's say Shager doesn't go, like let's actually see what the Micah Alahado show looks like against this defense of New Mexico.
I don't trust anything about Hawaii's coaching staff.
The warning, I mean,
it is killing the fantasy potential of all these different players too. Like Ashlock has played in 9 or 10 games. I know he's been banged up a little bit, right? But like 5 straight games of 3 or less catches.
I think that we probably didn't consider how much of an impact not having Stephen McBride probably has on this offense.
We should have kept him.
I think I might have added him somewhere in Dynasty for next year. But the idea that, all right, all targets will funnel to Ashlock and the offense will be very good, or from a fantasy perspective, like obviously that hasn't played out. Like they just don't have a second receiver there. And Ashlock also, he can't stop getting concussions, so that's great, right? I think he has like at least 1, and I think it's more like 2 or 3 this year. intra-season. So presumably that might have had some impact on his production this year as well. But yeah, disappointing year for the Bows. And they've got all that weird admin shit going on too, which doesn't seem very good and foreboding in a negative way. Like they just canned their AD. NIL seems like it's going in the gutter. Like I thought that things were going to be moving in a good direction for Timmy Chang, but I don't know. 2025 could be even rougher.
Yeah, I'm not encouraged by anything that's happened at Hawaii this year and their goal of playing Shager, even though he's awful. But alrighty, well, hope everybody has a nice holiday season here, starting with Thanksgiving and the great slate of games. And we'll catch you guys maybe next week. Have a good one.